Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Conversation with Evolving HR. This week, I'm joined by Jenny Black from Bohemian HR. Hello, Jenny. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me.
Nice to see you.
You have been part of Evolving HR from the outset. You were one of the first people I called when I was putting my little PDF directory together in 2024. And I would go so far as to say that you're a real friend of Evolving HR because you've also been involved in both of our conferences to date, and you're going to be again this year, aren't you?
Yes, I love it. It's such it's such a different event. It's so fun, and yeah, who wouldn't want to be part of it?
Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate everything you do for us in the community, and we'll come on to that a bit later. But the other thing that's fairly unique about Jenny is she's the only recruiter that we have as part of the Evolving HR network of businesses, and pretty much always has been from the start, which is interesting. But what I thought what we wanted to talk about today was the work that you do. It's not just as straightforward as, yeah, I'm a recruitment consultant. You've carved out quite an interesting niche for yourself, haven't you? And your business is kind of split two ways as a result of that niche. So do you want to talk us through what it is that you're up to?
Yes, thank you for having me, first of all. So yes, I am the founder of Bohemian HR. So I set up Bohemian HR back in 2021. Can't believe it. And the business has evolved a huge amount over those years, which is quite, I think, typical when you're setting up your own business. You imagine it's going to be a certain thing, and then as the years go on, you start to work out what it is that you really love doing. And what it is that works. And HR recruitment has been my thing for, I don't like saying it, but it's about 28 years or something like that. And it's always been HR recruitment. I absolutely love doing that. There's nothing better than getting a phone call to say, Jenny, we need your help finding an HR director. I'm the happiest when that happens. And I love doing that work. So my bread and butter is absolutely HR recruitment. HR leadership hiring really is where I love to be working at. And I've got clients based across all over the UK, and I've done some hiring into Europe and into the US as well. So that's a big chunk of what I do. And then you're quite right. There's a second part that's evolved, pardon the pun, for Evolving HR, has evolved out of Bohemian HR. And that's a group that I've called HR Compass. And the idea around HR Compass is supporting HR leaders with their direction. So the group was born out of, I think I did a head of HR piece of recruitment a couple of years ago. And I posted an advert. I don't often post an advert. I do tend to do most of my work through search. We did post an ad for this specific job, and we had a huge response. It was, I think there must have been about 500 applications.
Oh my gosh.
Massive. And it's a lot to manage. And I mean, there is often within that, there's maybe 150 people who are archived out of the advert because they maybe don't have any HR experience, or, you know, some people apply and don't necessarily look properly at the job ad. There's all of that. So there's a chunk that get moved into a pot that are not considered, but there was still a huge chunk of people to read through. So I read through all CVs, and I had a shortlist criteria, and I managed to get the shortlist criteria down, the numbers down to about 20 people, let's say. But that left a huge volume of candidates who had good HR experience that weren't being considered. So I decided to let them know, but offer my time up as an opportunity to talk about why they weren't selected and how I could support the job search. So it was a bit of a risk. I think I sent about 200 messages out with a link to my calendar. And I thought, okay, I could either come back tomorrow and open up my emails, and I've got no time for the next 4 weeks because my calendar's full. Strangely enough, only about 25 people took me up on the offer. So I suppose that's indicative of maybe how used to people are at getting rejections. It's a bit of a, okay, I've got a rejection, move on, you know, so maybe people aren't reading it. I don't know.
It could be that. I mean, you hear a lot about people getting ghosted.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that people would have been like, satisfied to have actually got a response from someone, but a response where someone offers up time to talk about it, that's rare.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that feels like a fairly low number. Maybe people literally just scanned the first line, realized it was a no, and then
Yeah.
moved on. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I'm happy to get a no. It's better than getting nothing at all, as you
Oh God,
say.
absolutely. Yeah.
But certainly through the conversations, then I started to realize, some people said, "Oh no, I do have that experience," and I'd say, "Okay, so where is it in your CV?" "Oh, I didn't mention it." "Okay, so there's one thing that we need to talk about." Or they hadn't sort of tailored the CV at all, just quick apply. I think there's a, isn't there, LinkedIn where you can quick apply. So therefore the CV is just getting sent with no real thought around whether it's a match for the opportunity. There's lots of little things like that came out. Maybe you then go into the LinkedIn profile and things didn't correlate, for example. Or so through the discussions, I started to realize that with the pressure of finding a job, people were maybe not taking the time to think about, was it a job that I wanted? Some people were like, "Oh yeah, I didn't really remember applying for that," or "Actually, that wasn't something that I'd want to do," or things like that. So it made me realize that the pressure is affecting the quality of the applications and also the time spent putting into finding the right job. So I decided I'd run a masterclass and see what happened. And I ran 3 different masterclasses. That was back in 24, I think. Or maybe, yeah, it doesn't matter. I did masterclasses. They were really well attended. And we did key things like, what's your values? What's important to you? And therefore, then what does that mean about what job it is that you really want to apply for? And what is it you actually want? Then looking at your CV, how are you presenting yourself? Interview preparation, what examples are you using? What impact are you illustrating and showing to potential employers? So we went through all of that, and that was really well attended, and it got me thinking about, okay, so what else can I do to help?
It's so interesting to me. So the very first webinar we did for Evolving was around how to write your CV when you're the person that normally reviews everybody else's and don't really take any time to do your own. And it's something that I've seen as well, is just because we work in HR and we might sometimes have responsibility for recruitment doesn't mean we know how to be a candidate. And I know personally, my CV was atrocious. When I was made redundant at back end of 2018, beginning of 2019, I used a CV writing company to help me review it. And the first thing they said was, nothing about this talks about the experience that you've had. You've basically listed tasks. You haven't said anything about what you've actually achieved or the impact that you've had. It sounds like I'm not alone in that. I mean, my CV now is very different, but it sounds like I wasn't alone in that.
You're definitely not alone. And it's a lot of work. And to write your CV and then rewrite your CV. And there are lots of ways to present yourself in a CV as well. And you only have to go spend a couple of hours on LinkedIn to hear lots of people's differing advice as well on how to present yourself. So it's a bit of a minefield. And I think some people were getting a bit frustrated as well, because they might apply to a job or with a recruitment business, and they get a call back, and then within 10 minutes somebody's selling them a CV writing service, for example, or so the things were just getting more and more overwhelming. So yeah, I just, and this isn't sometimes we associate job search support with maybe a sort of lower level of professional, and that HR directors and CPOs should absolutely know what they're doing. And that is not the case. And that's what I kind of felt like. I was like, these individuals need support, because these individuals are the ones that have been headhunted regularly, have never really been out of work, because there's always been opportunities for them, because the people in my network are super strong, brilliant HR leaders. They absolutely know their stuff. They can add so much value, but they're being overlooked because of either sheer volume. Sometimes it can be sector related experience. It can be sadly age related. There can be so many different elements that's stopping people getting work. So there's real overwhelm. So I felt like actually that's the group of people I wanted to support, because ultimately that's the group of people I'm placing as well. So it makes sense to nurture those individuals and support them in finding their next role. So that's when I set up the HR Compass group. So it's a free group on a Monday morning. And I set it up on a Monday morning intentionally, because when you're out of work and Monday comes, that's when it can hit you.
The structure, as well.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
9, we all show up on a Monday morning, and it's been every week, with the exception of bank holidays and maybe if I've been away, but every week since the beginning of 2025.
Wow.
We've been doing this, and there's people have come and gone. It's not the same. It's not been the same people all the way through. People have been successful finding work, and as people get jobs, I bring new people in, and so it's evolved a lot. I had an agenda when I first started. These are the things we're going to cover. It's a 12-week program. These are the things we're going to cover. I very quickly discovered that actually what people wanted was a network and a community and somewhere to go to share what's happened in the last week, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what jobs are in the marketplace, what recruiters really supported them and therefore wanted to pass names on. So just because I run it doesn't mean that we don't have really good conversations with other suppliers. I encourage them to share if they've had a great experience with a search consultant, share who that search consultant is, get everybody else talking to them. And then everyone brings an ask. So they come, they share about whatever has been happening this week. They share what their thoughts are on the marketplace, and they also bring an ask. So the ask could be, I did this interview last week. I was asked this question. I totally fluffed it up. How would you tackle it? And everyone will then share, okay, right, so I would do this or I would do that. And out of these discussions, people end up having ideas and things that they can take away and tackle in the week. So yeah, it's just a wonderful space. It's become something. It's not how I designed it. It's become something really important to us all, including myself. I absolutely love it. I've built friendships through those groups as well, and long-term relationships, which is really how I like to work.
And I think for people as well, when you've sometimes just feeling like you're not the only one in that position, and this applies to so many different things, but just being around a group of people who 100% get what it is that you're going through, what your challenges are, what your frustrations are. It's human nature, isn't it? We love connection and we love to be around other people. I think providing that space for them must also be invaluable. And I do think as well, HR professionals, we're not brilliant at asking for help.
No.
Really, really not. So I think that, that's just wonderful. The fact that you do all of this for free for people as well is just, it's lovely. It's so you. It really is. It's so you. And I love that. But I know a couple of the people that are in your Compass group, and I've only ever heard them talk so positively about how supportive it is and what they get from it. And people remember that. I know you're not doing it for, because you do it for free, but ultimately senior HR professionals are going to become clients. They're going to have needs within their own teams. When they do go and get jobs, they will become clients, and you're going to be the first person they call because they've had such a lovely experience of you supporting them when they needed it. And that's lovely. So much of what we do is around building good, solid, long-term relationships with people, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think, and they have, it's taken maybe 18 months or so for work to come out of the group, and it has, though, and that's also okay, because I'm getting so much out of doing this work, and actually this work is informing how I want to continue working as well. So I have set up some one-to-one paid coaching, so job search coaching, and some people come out of Compass and want something more dedicated, and it's a 4-week sort of one-to-one hour-and-a-half program, which is a paid one. And that's kind of grown out of this work because I love doing it so much. So I want to keep evolving that side of what I'm doing. And yeah, who knows where it's going to go next. There's lots of ideas percolating in my head. And yeah, and I'm just going to keep going with it. And I've discovered, a bit like yourself, that building communities and bringing people together, and, you know, oh, have you spoken, you know, like a couple of weeks ago, 2 people joined the call that were both in Scotland. And I just, from looking at them on the call, I just thought those 2 are just going to hit it off. So I just said on the call, you 2 should really meet for coffee. You're not that far away from each other. And then they took it offline and they ended up having a 2-hour coffee and getting amazingly. You know, that's the kind of things that, you know, you don't know the value of that until further down the line, but you know it's going to be good, because when meeting somebody in person, not good. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was over in the UK recently for the CIPD Festival of Work, but there were a number of evolving providers that were there. There were about 15 people from my ADHD community that were there, and I came away buzzing because, I mean, I talk to them all the time on Zoom and like this, but it isn't the same as being in a room with people. And, you know, there's just, the whole energy is different, isn't it? It is rather lovely.
Totally. And we're so I'm meeting some, because I'm in London next week, and so I'm meeting a couple of the Compass group for coffee and just a catch up, and then I'm actually running an event with my coach Rebecca called the HR Collective. That's in London as well next week, and it's a small sort of invite only type thing, bringing a few of the CPOs and HRDs in my network together, and we're going to do a bit of collective thinking, and that's my first sort of in-person event of my own in London. And it's, this is where the Compass group has evolved for me. It's about who else can I bring together and give them something that is impactful. I want people to get together and come away with a solution to a thing that's going on for themselves, you know, not to learn about my services or to learn about what's happening technically in HR. I want people to come away feeling like, right, I'm going to take that I talked about there and action it here, and it's going to make my life better. So yeah, that's.
We've talked about that before, haven't we? Because for, you know, people quite often think that recruitment is a very sales focused industry. You are the least salesy exec search consultant I have ever met. I mean, you've done a 5-minute storytelling session at Evolving HR 24 and 25 and didn't even mention what you do in either of those sessions.
You know,
we talked about this.
Maybe that's a bit, we have talked about this. I'll do so much and never tell anybody what I do.
And I'm the same. It's like, you know, I find it an awful lot easier to promote other people's businesses than my own. And I even forget what I do. You know, you just reminded me of something this morning that I'd forgotten about. But I don't know. I don't think you can fake that. You know, people get very frustrated with being sold to constantly. And equally, you can go to networking events where people are acting like they're not selling you, but you can see it's like that far behind their eyes. They're just like waiting to go. But I think I'm always drawn to people who don't do that, because my husband always says nice guys finish last, and I need to be a lot tougher. But I genuinely believe that if I just carry on the way I am, you will build the, you know, it's Wayne's World, isn't it? If you book them, they will come. Like, if you build those relationships, eventually it will turn into something better. And I can't help it. Maybe I'm just an old hippie at heart, but I would rather, it feels more authentic to me to just connect with people and have those relationships than be constantly trying to push my services at them. And I think you're the same.
Yeah, the same. And I think in my world, you know, when you look at you know, people who are recruiting for CPOs or HR directors, what I get frustrated with sometimes is like sometimes it's the best salesperson that wins the work, and they're not necessarily going to deliver the best work. And, you know, we all need to think about, okay, so how do we get across what we do and how well we do it so that we win the work as opposed to someone else. So it's building, for me, that's by building relationships and sharing but being more intentional about sharing what I do. And that's something that I am trying to work harder on, because we can't assume that everyone knows.
No, this is a very good point. This is a very good point. I mean, I always assume that people know, and then people are like, no, I didn't have a clue that you did that. You've never mentioned that.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't. So what is just, I'm interested in your take on the state of the market for senior HR roles right now, because I don't know, I see a lot of feedback from people, candidates, about terrible experiences that they're having, like having to jump through so many hoops for different roles and then never hearing another word. Of somebody the other day had gone through a 5-stage interview process and then just never heard another word. And you think, well, actually, that's just rude. But what is that exec end of the market like at the moment?
And we talk about this in the group as well, just saying, let's remember when you get your new job, the experience that you've just had, and hope that it informs processes moving forward, that we do start to shift the experiences that people are having. It's definitely so much better than it was at the beginning when we first started this group. When I first started the group, the same 12 people were in the group for, sort of 3-4 months before things started to shift. And the conversations were not, I have an interview, or, they were, I've applied for this, that, and the next thing, and they weren't hearing anything, or things were taking time. Whereas actually, the length of time people are in the group now is shorter. People are coming in, and within 8 weeks, 10 weeks, they are securing and moving on because they've got their new jobs. So I think that the time in the marketplace is maybe getting shorter. For some, it's still longer than we would like it to be. So I think that's an indicator that the market is moving positively. It's still slower than we would like it to be. There's still far more candidates than there is jobs. I do think there's more of an appetite at the senior end to move into a new job now, and I think that was one of the challenges, was your people at the top were staying put rather than changing job, because we need people to change jobs for more jobs to come up, and there needs to be a movement in the market for more jobs. So I would say, I don't know if I'm answering the question, I'd say it's better than it was 18 months ago. There's still work to be done, but we are moving in the right direction for sure.
And are you finding, I mean, with the roles that you're working on as a search consultant, have you been able to place people in your Compass group into those roles by introducing them?
I have more of them have become clients rather than actually I've placed them specifically myself.
Right.
So I would say that I'm trying to think if I've actually placed anybody yet. I probably have not. But I think what's happened is that I have really helped them in how they're presenting themselves for the jobs that they've gone for. So, and that's the one thing I wanted to happen, was that the jobs came into me were good for the people that were sitting in the Compass group, but it's not always the way. The jobs are coming in and you're like, that's not going to work for any of the people there. So the people I've placed have been out with the group. But I think the work that we've done within the group has really helped them in how they're showing up for their jobs. The calls that I've had from people in the group when they've been secured, I mean, one of them, I was the second person she told after her husband, and she was like in tears with happiness about getting the work. And I was just, those are the times that, it just feels like you're adding, what you're doing is the right thing.
Yeah. I mean, God, it definitely is. I think because it's such a vulnerable time for people as well, especially if it's an extended period of job search. It's very, it's hard to keep motivated. It's hard to keep yourself going when you're getting no response or rejections. And I always used to have to tell myself, I only need one yes. There are going to be a lot of no's because I only need one yes. And so I kind of hardened myself to it a little bit, if that makes sense. And I think I'm a lot better nowadays at thinking, well, that wasn't the job for me. So the last time I was like out in the market looking for an HR role would have been 2021. And I had left the role that I was in the January, and I knew I had until about August before things would start to get difficult. And so I had loads and loads of interviews around the sort of May, June time. And it was just a question of the right one came up. Would you believe I started on the 1st of August? So I managed to time it exactly right. But yeah, it's, you look back at the time, like anytime you get a rejection for something, it's frustrating and disappointing. And then you look back and you think, I would not have enjoyed that.
No, no.
That was not the role for me. Like they might have been able to see it before me. There was one, I remember I was down to the final 2, and it was financial services. And I think you know enough about me to know that when I was let go from financial services, I said I'd never go back. And here I was interviewing for a financial services role. And it was funny because I had to do a presentation and I thought I'd done really well, but the feedback was she just didn't have the energy. And I thought, of course I didn't, because I didn't want to blooming do it.
No, no. And
I realize that now.
We talk about the, you know, when you're too invested in something, you know, almost like you're trying to, you've got a really tight grip, I have to get this job. Chances are you're not going to do the best work because you've got so much stress tied into it. And almost the more relaxed you can be and authentic you can be, the better chance you have. And we talk about the balance of over preparing or preparing and over preparing. And yes, you know, be prepared, but think about what it is you're preparing for. You know, some people think they've got to learn about the company inside and out. So if I get asked about the company, I know what the company does. And yes, of course, you need to know what the company does. But
when I was more junior, I used to do that. I'd like literally learn things from their website.
Memorize it. But actually, what you want to be doing is thinking about, what does the company do? What are they likely going to need from this HR director? And think about how I can bring that to that business, not about what they do and how much turnover they've got and how many employees. Yes, all of these things matter, but what matters more is imagining how you could make a difference and then being able to convey that in your interview, because a lot of it is about how you make someone feel and also the impact that you could potentially have, and for them to walk away and go, oh my God, do you hear what Kirsty said about that? We could have her doing that for us. And that's the impact you want to have. That's the feeling you want to leave. So it's about preparing for how you can help them, not about what they do and who they are and, you know, so on.
Jenny, where can people get hold of you if there are senior job seekers out there that are interested in joining your Compass group? How do they go about that?
So the best way is to email me at jenny@bohemianhr.com. You made me laugh when you said about being a hippie. That's, you know, Bohemian HR should tell you everything you need to know.
No, as soon as that came out of my mouth, I thought her company's called Bohemian HR, for goodness sake. So
I named it that because people used to say when I was in the corporate world, let's say that I was like a corporate hippie. So I thought this is a brilliant name for a corporate hippie. So yeah. You can go onto my website and there's a contact me page. So it's www.bohemianhr.com, Jenny@bohemianhr.
I'll put the links down below for people as well.
And on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's the best way. But please reach out. I'm always here to help. I really enjoy the relationship building part of what I do is what makes me tick. Definitely.
Love it. Jenny, thank you so much for joining me. And
thank you.
You really do such amazing work with this. I love it. And I'm thrilled to bits that you're a lifetime provider, aren't you? So you're stuck with me. So, but I'm delighted that you've been involved with Evolving HR from the beginning, and that you're going to continue to be, because you absolutely embody the kind of values and ethos that I wanted to, showcase for people and make people aware is out there. Because, well, let's be honest, you're working in an industry where not everybody is like that.
There are a good few of us, but no, I know. I think looking after people right now is really important. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much.